OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We're Rolling Audio here today in episode 341 of The Hodder Show. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. I am back to form here on this week's episode of the show. Still a little, I'm not going to say under the weather, still not quite 100%. COVID kicked my ass. Let me just say that. I'll talk a little bit about it in this episode, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but let's just say I'm happy to be feeling much better and being able to actually podcast. I have a kick-ass episode for you here today as I am joined by Jacob and Gord from Beguiler for a music showcase of their brand new EP that just came out a couple of months ago, Etterath. And let me tell you, it is a freaking banger. If you're a fan of deathcore and heavy stuff, you're going to love it. Beguiler are definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, deathcore band. And it's always a pleasure getting to talk with Jacob. And this was actually the first time that Gord made an appearance on the Hodder Show. And I go way back with Gord. So it was a lot of fun getting to chat with him and Jacob all about the brand new EP. And then also we get to hear all 4 tracks in their entirety, along with some fun stories about the writing and recording of the EP. Track by track commentary for all 4 of the songs. And then also we talk a little bit about Gord joining the band and kind of what the guys have been up to since it has been a while since we heard from Beguiler here on the show. I'm not going to waste any more time. We got an epic episode for you here today. Let's get into it. Back for another edition of the Hodder Show Music Showcase, this time with the homies in Beguiler. We got Jacob and Gord here talking all about the brand new EP. I'm already going to fuck up the goddamn name of it. You just told Etterath. That's it. I'm leaving that in. Fuck it. What's up, boys? Yeah. How's it hanging?
Not a whole lot. Pretty good.
Pretty good, man. What's going on?
Oh, you know, just living the dream. Real quick, Gord, it's good to finally get you on here for a chat, man. I was talking to you before we started, like you've been on my list literally from like day one, and just I can't believe it's taken this damn long, but it's good to see you, man. It's been a long time.
We're finally here, man. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me out. Like, thanks for having us out. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure. Obviously, Jacob, the last time that you were on the show was, I mean, it feels like a freaking lifetime ago. It was 2018, but it might as well be 10 years ago, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I want to say it was like the end of 2018. It does feel like a fucking lifetime since then, honestly.
So what's been going on in the world of Beguiler the last little while?
Oh, man. Since we talked then, a lot. In the last little bit, not too much. It's kind of getting back into the swing of things now that like Canada's back open and stuff like that again, so we can play some shows and kind of do some catching up. And been working on an album as well.
Right on. That's good to hear. Obviously, the last time that I had some Beguiler content on the Hodder Show was actually the showcase for Born Under a Bad Sign, which still remains one of my all-time favorite fucking albums that I've had on the Hodder Show Music Showcase. Like I still rip that album all the time. I love it. And then obviously from there, you guys did have is it considered a crossover with Pillars of Autumn, or is it like, what is like the
proper
for what that was?
A split EP.
Split
EP. So
right,
we did a Conscious Decline, which was second EP we did, and then we did the split with Pillars. That came out now, I guess, almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in the fall.
Yes, A Conscious Decline was, so you know why I just called it Born Under a Bad Sign, because that's like the fucking banger that it comes up in my playlist all the time. So in my mind, I was like, oh, it's Born Under a Bad Sign. Yeah, no, A Conscious Decline was that EP. But and that split was fucking awesome too. It was really good.
Yeah, no, it turned out great. The super happy with it, especially Pillars. They killed it as always.
Those dudes are fucking crazy, man. Like they're nuts in terms of like all around musicianship and like I can't. Oh, Nick, man, I keep forgetting his name, but Nick, like on the vocals too, monster, man,
Yeah,
absolute
man.
monster.
Yeah, he's a beauty too. I love Nick.
Yeah, big shouts to the Pillar of Autumn guys. Another band that I've been meaning to fucking reach out to, and just life is crazy.
Yeah. No, they're a fun time. I think they would be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, that'd be cool, boys. I'll slide into the old DM soon. But even just getting this together, man, Jacob, you and I we've been trying to schedule this for like a month and a half, and I was all finally good to go, and then my dumbass got COVID, and yeah, it's
yeah, it's just life, right? It's been like a hell of a month. I feel like last month has been real busy, and then like I feel like the same for you as well, and then. Of course, you caught the virus, and
oh man!
But glad you're feeling better, and glad we're doing this.
Yeah, man, for sure. So obviously, with Etterath, it did come out now as we're so it came out. It was in
the end of April.
I was just about to say, and it was end of April. But I mean, it's still nice and fresh. So walk me through a little bit of kind of the pre-production and the writing process leading up to recording Etterath.
So a couple of the songs we wrote actually like quite a while ago. Like probably even towards the beginning of COVID, we wrote one of the songs, and then one of the other songs even was from before that. We were gonna use it on the split with Pillars, but we didn't end up doing that. Like we had them tracked for a bit. We had a bunch of songs to pick from. We were kind of always set on releasing those songs, and then we just like basically retracked them. I did all the tracking and then sent it out to Keegan at Nocturnal to mix, as always.
The wizard.
Yeah, he's done all our stuff, and that honestly, like for all the stuff he's done for us, turned out amazing. I think it's some of his best work, and we talked a lot about it beforehand and kind of what we wanted to sound, what we wanted it to sound like, and he absolutely nailed it, like beyond expectations, as always.
Yeah, it's definitely a really great sounding. Like you guys have always had from day one great production, and even like you said with Etterath, it's even like holy shit, it's even more like. But even like the tracking, man, like it's like you can just hear like as great as if you have a great producer, they can obviously make things sound really clean. But if the stuff's not recorded and tracked properly, like there's only so much you can do, right?
Of course, the source is important for sure. I definitely like, I spent basically like, I always kind of did this stuff before a bit, but then during like the pandemic and stuff, we weren't playing shows and whatnot. And I spent a lot of extra time just on the computer, like learning audio stuff. And then also, like just honing in on tracking and getting clean tracks and stuff like that. And then, it's always nice to send it out to mix though, especially with Keegan, because we know he's going to do a great job, and then also because like I'm so close to that music, like I won't be happy, but I love sending it out, and like Keegan always like definitely nails it. We also sent it to be mastered by Matt Andrews, who's running a studio now out of Windsor. So he did the masters on that, and he also does great work mixing and whatnot as well. So it was cool to get like even another set of ears on it, and definitely like super happy with the outcome for it.
Right on. Well, and it's definitely like big shout outs to Keegan and Matt, like it, because it sounds fantastic. Like that's the one thing I think I had this conversation with someone the other day about like the deathcore death metal genre, you know, like because they were like, oh, like I can't get into it. Why are they screaming at me? You know, it's the classic silly thing, right? And I said, like, you know, and he was showing me like this rock band or something, and I was like, this is cool, but I'm like, the production's not there, like the songs aren't there. I'm like, dude, like you just prefer this because he's singing clean, like what? And I put on the EP for him. I put on Plague Ridden Rats, and I was like, just listen to this, like just. And he was like, shit, this is really cool. Like it's really clean. Like what? Like, and it's something I've noticed, like with the more extreme side of metal, like. It's like the production is so clean that like you can't deny it. Like it's just the vocals are so like, yes, it's heavy and it's very, you know, a lot of gutturals and then a lot of highs and stuff, but like you can understand what they're saying. You can understand what's going on. Like the days of like just like the 90s death metal where you could barely understand what the fuck was going on. Like
honestly, even like there was always good bands in the MySpace.
There's a lot of really
era,
good fucking bands.
Oh, there was.
But even in the 2010s, like a lot of metalcore bands, deathcore bands had shitty recordings. Like my old band's guilty of it too. Like it's just kind of way it is. But like I find the last few years too, even like it makes it easier to get clean recordings with like how good digital audio is getting. And I mean, it's hard to beat analog as always, but like as far as like if you are on a budget or doing DIY recording, like a lot of the stuff and like hardware and software plugins that are coming out now just sound almost identical to their analog copies, right? So
yeah, it's freaking wild what you can do now. Yeah. Dude, I went from using Audacity to Adobe Audition and then back to Audacity.
Yeah.
And then now I'm back on Adobe Audition, and like going from Audacity to Adobe Audition, it was like, oh, like what? Like, holy shit. Like it's wild what you can do now with just even a cell phone and a good DAW. Like it's crazy what you can do nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Wild.
Man. Yeah.
Absolutely freaking wild. So one thing with this EP, like obviously Gord, with you joining the band, what was the timeline like for that? Like Jacob, you mentioned that were the tracks already done, or?
They were pretty much done at the time when he joined. I think we're like finishing up recording, and we were kind of like, hey, like if you want, like you could do these tracks, but we'd rather just give you time to learn everything, get comfortable and whatnot. Cause they were like pretty much already all tracked. Like I think we would have even had to retrack some of it if you wanted to, which
right, yeah,
would have been cool, but for time's sake and everything, it's, you know, we got it done. But he picked it up quick, like within I think like a week or two after, like once they were sent out for mix, like we were practicing with him for the show we did in the fall. And boy's a quick learner.
That's fucking Gordy, man. So what was it like for you, Gord, coming in? Like obviously you're no slouch of a damn musician, and I mean you playing with Crane and everything, like that's knowing your history and that. How was it for you coming in and joining a band like Beguiler, who have had, you know, they've already had some music out, they're known as some pretty heavy hitters in the scene. How was that for you coming into the band?
It was, I'll be honest, man, it was huge for me personally, because I don't know, like I watching them, like even before Taylor was in the band, like when he was just hanging out with them, I remember he went and drove on a tour with them. They did a weekend run back in the day when Skinner and FS and Matt were still in the band. And like getting to hang out with them at the space and shit, man. Like that was cool. Got to know Scott pretty well. Got to know Jacob through that. And then I think it was back in last August, because Taylor at the time, I was living on Park Road in Oshawa, and Taylor was living a block or two down the house down the street on St. Clair there, and came up one day after work, and he's like, "Hey man, you know, what do you think? He's like, you wanna come play bass?" He's like, "We need a bass player," and I was like, "What? Seriously?" It was big, man. I'm happy where I am. Like, I'm happy to be here. Like, they're a great group of guys, man. They're all super fucking talented. Like, yeah.
That's it, man. That's awesome.
And it's cool to play in a band with, Taylor, because like him and I, like, we grew up together, like went to high school together. We played in a band in high school briefly. Like, he played guitar for us for maybe like a month.
What band was that?
Oh, dude, like, it was we were called Beyond the Black Winter, and there's like 1,000,001 jokes.
Yo, that's fucking hard. Beyond the Black Winter, bro.
So a lot of people I met after the fact, like a few years later, they were all like, "Yeah, man, like when I heard about your band, like we never recorded anything. We played a couple of shows, but they were like, when we heard about your name, we thought you were like a black metal band, and then we learned you were like a Green Day cover band."
Yeah, it was really hilarious. You guys also didn't have vocals for a while, right?
Nah, man, because Calvin at the time, our friend Calvin Cole was playing guitar and doing vocals, and right up until every show, he'd be like, "Yeah, man, I got this. Like, I'm doing vocals." And then the day of the show, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing vocals."
Yeah, so funny story actually to go back. Like, I'd say, goddamn, this was probably.
Oh, are you talking
12,
about
13 years ago now? Our old band, Imminence, played a show with Gord's band at like the old music scene. This was before we knew each other, like way before we knew each other. And they were playing, like fucking Green Day instrumentals. And Curtis, who was in our band, Curtis Hercock, he jumped up on the stage and fucking started doing like harsh vocals for like American Idiot, and just did like a bunch of pig squeals. And then all of a sudden, like all these kids came in and started throwing down, and like your guys, like I swear, like family members and just like old people were there like filming.
Yeah.
And they were just not happy, but fuck, that was funny. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
No, dude,
awesome.
That was
it's funny, like years after the fact, being like, no way that you were in that band. Like, that's hilarious. Like, just like how we crossed paths there, but didn't know each other.
No, man, that
such
was
a small world, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was before I even knew Taylor.
Holy fuck, really?
Yeah, like, so we would have been in like grade 9 or 10. I guess you guys were like in grade 10 too, like super.
Yeah, this sounds about right.
Yeah.
Shit, man,
it was like one of those like mixed genre showcases. So like,
was it like a Battle of the Bands, like Supernova Battle of the Bands or some
like,
shit?
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
like pyramid scheme type deal. Like
pyramid scheme.
Well said,
no.
sir. Well said.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of pyramid schemes, no, that's the worst segue in the history of this show. So going back to the EP for a second here, I got to ask, like, obviously on the showcase here, we're going to play the tracks and stuff in a little bit, but I want to talk to you guys about the cover of this EP, because the second I saw the cover, I was like, holy shit, it's going down. Like, just, you can tell, like, I love the cover for A Conscious Decline as well, but like, I was just like, it's so, I mean, to me, it's dark and horror. Like, where did the idea for that come from?
A lot of those ideas were like Scott's for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, in the early days, like, I don't know, Plague Ridden Rats I feel like that song is where a lot of like the visual influence came from for that. But that song is like, it's about primarily about Bloodborne, which is like very like Victorian era looking stuff, gothic stuff, which we really love. But we kind of had to do with what we could, and we were definitely on a tight budget for artwork
And timeline.
We had to do it quick because we were doing stuff last minute. And then actually Gord got one of his friends, Stephanie, to help us out. She does all types of like photography and like graphic design stuff, and she helped us out with that. And yeah, it turned out cool, like very like out of like horror style, like you said. Like I like it, especially for like how quick it came out and the basically minimal budget and materials we're working with for that.
You want to know a fun fact about the cover, TJ?
I do.
So the guy with the axe, that's me.
No way, that's awesome.
Yo, and the corpse I'm dragging behind me is Scott.
That's great.
Yeah, buddy. Like that whole like kind of the whole background with like the side of the church and like the trees and stuff, man. Like we drove up Lakeshore to this like Lakeshore Road in Newcastle there. We drove up almost to Port Hope, I think it's where it kind of comes out. And there's like the historic church and there's like an old cemetery in the backyard.
I know it really well. I grew up around there. I know it really well.
There you go. Yeah, that's where we did that photo, man. And
that's
then
wild.
My girlfriend Carly, her friend Steph, she like Jacob said, like she has graphic design and all that. And actually, I don't know if you ever saw the Jon Snow photo that I posted.
Yes.
With me and
yeah.
She edited the direwolf in there and took those photos and stuff for us. Like she's a fucking she's a wizard, bro. Like she's great.
Yeah, she's super. I have a really interesting connection with Stephanie because I'm good friends with her cousin Sam. So it's
okay. Yeah.
So everyone knows everyone, right?
Yeah. You know what she's
oh yeah, she's fucking awesome, man. She has a huge passion for horror as well. So like getting her input on stuff for that, like everything it was such a good experience, man. Like it was good shoot. That's awesome. Cause yeah, like if you look at her Instagram and stuff, it's very like, she's a fantastic photographer. But I remember when I saw her name pop up for this, I was like, what? Like, really? And then like, I kind of dug a bit deeper and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's cool to see. That's awesome. Cause yeah, the second you see that, that's so cool that you go in that pic. That's just, I don't know why, it just warms my heart. Just that you're the one doing that. You're the crazy axe murderer.
It kind of fulfilled, like low key, it kind of fulfilled like another fantasy of mine. Cause like, man, I'd love people. Not just that. No. I think it'd be so much fun, dude, to play the serial killer or psychopath or bad guy in whatever genre movie, dude. I think it'd be so much fun.
Dude, I will write a movie right now as with this character. Bet. I'll do it right now. I know some people. We can make it happen.
Do it. I'll do it. I'll do it for free, bro, just to get it out there.
We'll do it. That's awesome. That's awesome. So as far as the actual tracking of the EP, Jacob, like you'd already kind of mentioned a little bit about it, but did you guys have any was there like any of those moments while you were recording that you were just like, fuck, that's the one, like that's the song?
I mean, I feel like when we wrote a couple of those songs like time ago, they were a big step up from what we were kind of writing. And it's funny because like songs like that, we'll just bang them out and then afterwards be like, wow, this song's really fucking sick. And like they were definitely a bit ahead of like what we were writing at the time, like I said. So I feel like when we finished them, we were kind of like those are songs like we have to use. And then we sat on them for so long. I don't know, you just kind of get tired of them, but then re-recording them and adding in like, you know, extra production elements, all that stuff. And then especially hearing the mixes back, I think was like, it was like so refreshing. And then we're just like, holy fuck, like glad we picked those like solid songs. Yeah, so I'd say that I don't know, there's a couple of those moments, but I don't know, I feel like I personally like all the songs pretty much equally, all for different reasons. But I'd say like Insomnolence has to be like probably one of my favorite songs we've written, just because like the vibe of it is so like, I don't know, just dark and sounds huge. And yeah.
It does for sure, man. Well, I think it's high time we play some music here. So we got 4 fucking bangers to play for you guys. And then we're going to come back and talk a little more about each track and a little more about the EP. So the 4 songs that we have for you guys here right now is the first track. Please correct me if I mispronounce this, Jacob, but Insomnolence.
Yep.
Insomnolence, which does feature Josh from Wrath Eternal, which is it's a fucking banger, dude.
Wraith Eternal.
Wraith Eternal, not Wrath Eternal. Yes, sorry. Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I have in my fucking notes, I have fuck, I literally had that pronunciation in there too. Oh God. Sorry guys, it's been a long day for TJ. But it's an absolute banger of a track, man. Like you and Josh just work so well together, but we'll talk about that after we hear the song. So then we have Plague Ridden Rats, Entropy, and Desolate.
Desolate, yes.
Desolate. 4 bangers. So crank it up, guys. Right now here on the Hodder Show Music Showcase, this is Etterath by Beguiler. All right, guys, we're back here with Gord and Jacob from Beguiler. We just heard their EP, Etterath. Fucking bangers, boys. Just bangers. I loved it. I love the EP, man. Again, the track listing, we have Insomnolence, which features Josh Willems from Wraith Eternal, not Wrath Eternal. We have Plague Ridden Rats, Entropy, and Desolate. So walk me through... Let's go through each track here and walk me through it. So let's start off with the first track, Insomnolence.
And just context of what they're about.
Yeah, like I'd love to know like a little bit about, you know, the like what the song, a little bit about like the lyrics of the song, like kind of what the song's about, any fun stories about tracking that particular song. And I'd also love to know the story behind getting Josh to help you out with some killer dueling vocals there.
Yeah, for sure. So Insomnolence, it's just another word for like insomnia, pretty much. That song is just all about sleep deprivation, and I don't know what that does to your mood. I guess for the longest time, I don't know, I just don't sleep at night. Like, even I'll work early in the morning and sometimes only sleep for like 2 hours, but I've done it for so long now, and like my body is like, it's almost used to it. And I mean, that's definitely not right, but yeah, the whole song is just kind of about, yeah, sleep deprivation and of course, like, you know, depression, all that stuff, stress, where like those things all kind of go hand in hand, right? And then yeah, like instrumentally, it's definitely a lot going on. I think out of all the tracks, that probably had the most layers on it. And yeah, it's just super melodic but super dark sounding. Josh, we wanted to have on a track for forever. I did a feature on a Wraith track like years ago, I think on their first EP. And ever since then, I've kind of said, like, you know, I'm gonna have you on a track, Josh, blah blah blah. And then we didn't really have any features on our first couple EPs, and then the second one, the split we did, we had Aiden on it from False Fire, but I don't know, we kind of knew before that Josh was going to be on this track specifically, so he just kind of patiently waited till we put it out. I assured him we were still going to do it, and yeah, I don't know, I've known him for years. His vocals are good. Just happy to have him. It was easy. We recorded it at my place, and yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out.
That's awesome. And it's cool because like with the deathcore, death metal, the kind of the guttural style vocals, like if you're not careful, it's like you can almost be like, oh, like they sound kind of similar with some guys, but like with you and Josh, like you guys have such a distinctive voices. It's wild to me, like, cause you can go fucking all over the place. You're a madman with your range.
Thank you.
So it was cool to hear, just almost like there were times that you were taking kind of like almost like the high harmony, and he was going low, and then he was going high and you were going low. Just, there's a lot going on in that track vocally, man.
Well, he was just in the one section at the end, right? So that was kind of all him, just for like the second half of that last break.
So that was just you doing the whole fuck off. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, for like,
I assumed, I knew he was for sure at the end, but I was like, he's got to be doing some other vocals in there, dude. Like, what the fuck? That's wild. That's wild.
Just me on there.
Jesus. So you got like 8 voices. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah. It's fine. So you could have told me there was like 4 people on that song, and I'd be like, yeah, that checks out. Like, just That's probably the best compliment I can give you is I thought there was multiple people doing the vocals on it.
Definitely multiple layers, but yeah,
of course, yeah,
up until the end there. But yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I like to bounce around. I find it kind of just comes naturally too with like how spastic like some of the vocals are in our music. And yeah, I've always liked different ranges and always like enjoyed listening to bands where like the vocalists do a lot of different ranges. So definitely,
yeah, and you've got that Randy Blyle pitch too, which is there's not a lot of cats doing the harsh vocals that I hear that can do that pitching of your scream. Like that's something that I've only really heard Randy do it. And you're one of the very few people I know that I'm like, yo, he can fucking do that. Like it's
he's definitely one of my early influences too. Mm-hmm. Like I used to like Lamb of God was one of the first bands I started screaming to and whatnot.
That's definitely a good one to start to, because you learn right away like how to. Again, it's having a little bit of melodicness to your screams, right? You're not just screaming words for the sake of screaming them. It's like, let's round things out and let's make sure I'm pronouncing things properly. And that's cool, man. Sure. That's awesome. I do love the intro too. Like super, I wasn't expecting that. When I turned on the EP, I was like, this is kind of like groovy and vibey. I dig this. And then it fucking kicks in and I'm like, shit.
Yeah, we got to play around with a lot of different synths and stuff on it. So there is some creations like that intro that kind of came out last minute, but it's like, I think like they're super fitting. And I like how especially in the first song, the synth at the beginning and end, like I just kind of tie the song together and just kind of sets the vibe right away. And that's, I think, what we're going for like a lot of these tracks and why we added so much, like so many synths and like so much extra production value is like, we're really just going to like try and set vibes for the songs.
That's awesome. We'll definitely do get that. So the next track that obviously we got to make sure we talk about, Plague Ridden Rats. You might as well have called this one Plague Ridden Breakdowns. Like, what the fuck? Just, oh my God. Because this was the first track that you guys dropped from the EP. And I remember I saw the title, 'cause I think I saw you guys upload like the picture of like the bloody axe. And it was like, you had the date. And I was like, oh shit. And then I think I saw the pre-save for Plague Ridden Rats. And I'm pretty sure I commented and was like, fuck, like, just the title alone. I'm like, yo, this is going to be some dark, heavy shit. I love it.
Yeah. No, that song is, I think, definitely like we've had it for a while, but that song's all about Bloodborne. So the name Plague Ridden Rats, like that's definitely comes from that kind of that game. They utter that phrase a lot. I don't know if you've played that.
I have a little, so yeah, I'm
so like, you know, like all the townspeople, they'll like, you know, throw their torch at you and be like, Plague Ridden Rat and all that shit. Like
you Plague Ridden Rat.
Yeah, or we always fuck with that shit. Like me, Gord, and Scott, we all nerd the fuck out over those games. Like literally, like me and Scott played Bloodborne up until the day like Elden Ring came out. We've even played.
I was just about to ask that. So you guys, that's like a whole. We can have a whole other conversation on that because I suck at those fucking games. Right, I suck at those fucking games, dude. I didn't even get past the first area in Bloodborne. That's how much I suck.
So you're like Taylor, yeah.
I suck, dude. I suck.
To make him play it. Yeah.
I suck. Like just even Elden Ring. I was like, Elden Ring. Is it like my buddy's like, yeah, man. It's like, you know, Elder Scrolls meets Dark Souls, and I was like, okay, I could get into that. No. I got like 20. I got a little further in it, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't need this shit in my life. I'm good."
Those games they're mean.
I was just like, yo, I want like the easiest difficulty story mode. Let's just have some fun. That's all I want, man. I'm not looking for a fucking challenge anymore. Like,
No, fun in those games has to involve screaming at your console or computer or whatever.
I can't anymore. Back in the day, for sure, But I'd have a fucking heart attack. But anyway, no, that's cool though. Like because I know that just the term plague-ridden rats. Like I was like, okay, that's obviously it's from Bloodborne, because I'm like I at least knew that much Bloodborne, even though I didn't get very far. But that's awesome, and it's a song too that like I saw it pop up on a few like I think it was like Breakdown Central. I saw it pop up on there for a video.
They just did like a reaction review to it. Super nice dude. I don't know him by name, but we've chatted a bit on the pages. He's a super nice dude.
Right on.
So I was happy that he featured us on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely a banger fucking track. And like I said, like just as much as I joke about the whole, plague-ridden breakdowns, it's like, dude, like.
Yeah, definitely like the breakdowns hit. We always talked about doing like just like a Bloodborne song or something like that. And then Scott, like me and Scott finished that song like years ago, and then I just kind of wrote the lyrics for it and then showed him after and was like yeah, these are the lyrics for this, and it's all about Bloodborne. And he was like, that's perfect. Like, and yeah, pretty much everything in that song is referenced to that game. But I don't know, it's cool. It's like we like that Victorian era art style, all that, and then like also like the soundtracks. Like we're big nerds for like neoclassical music, Victorian era, like, but like modern takes on it, like
right, yeah,
sound like horror,
a little
like,
moodier and darker.
Yeah.
Like, I did that.
I'll listen to like film scores for like horror movies and shit if I like it, stuff like that. So
that's awesome. We got to talk after this podcast about something.
Okay. For sure.
That's awesome though, man. Yeah, it's a hell of a fucking track for sure. Next track that we have here is Entropy, which it was one that was kind of it was one that definitely it caught me off guard, just because of how like it's very like, I don't want to say groovy, that's not the right word I'm looking for here, but like there's a lot of like the symphonic keys and shit going on, and like it's very kind of vibey, but again, still heavy. And it's a really cool track, man. I wasn't expecting that on this EP, but it fits so well.
To be honest, neither were we really. that kind of came in last minute. We had some other plans for the track list, and we ended up kind of adding that in last minute, because there was a track we did a cover for like a Whitechapel song.
Right.
And
okay.
Originally, like this is just kind of like a taster, because like we're kind of strapping down to like do an LP now, but we did want to put out more music. And then originally we were gonna put that Whitechapel cover on, but the licenses for basically there's different licenses for us putting it out digitally as opposed to also selling it on a CD. There's additional licensing you need for that, and just like for the time crunch, those licenses definitely don't come as quick. It was super easy to do the digital one and just put it out, but as far as like getting a mechanical license to print it on CDs, it was going to take a little while. We didn't really want to sacrifice the time, and so we did that interlude kind of. And like the lyrics for it, they tie into that whole Bloodborne theme again. And then also just kind of transition into the next track. And then that's also exactly what we use the instrumental for. It's kind of built upon elements from the end of Plague Ridden Rats, and then the song just kind of like fades into Desolate. And yeah, we banged that out quickly. Like we put in the keys. Taylor had it at home for like a night or two and wrote some leads for it, and then we sat back down at my place and then kind of came up with the whole like rhythm structure for it, and then it ended up slapping, and then we're like, fuck it, we'll throw it on there for like the interlude. And I think at least for like Taylor and I, it's like one of our favorite tracks on it. It's so simple and honestly felt effortless, but yeah, it's like it definitely has like a whole vibe to it, and really happy with how it turned out.
That's awesome. It's definitely like it's a step in a different direction for you guys, but it's still very much like you guys, right?
Yeah,
that's
it's a little
so
broken
cool
down. Like it's definitely a bit more like laid back, I'd say, like instrumentation wise.
Yeah, definitely so. It's such a wonderful bridge, again, like you said, going from Plague Ridden Rats into Desolate, which is the next track and the final epic conclusion for the EP. I mean, what can I say about Desolate? It's just fucking this huge track. It has everything on it. Basically, it's almost like if I was to say, like if someone was to say, hey, what does Beguiler have to offer? I think Desolate might be that new track for me that I might be like, hey, check this out. Cause it's got kind of all the elements you guys do on one track. You know, there's some melodicness going on. There's the heaviness. There's the symphonic stuff. There's the riffs. Everything's there.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. That's yeah, that song definitely was intimidating at first. So, like I think for all of us when we wrote it, it's definitely like a step up. It's like instrumentation wise, it's just fast as hell and a lot of notes, but it was like once again one of those songs where it's like we just shout it out really quick, and it's fucking intense, and super happy with how it turned out. And then I feel like definitely like the backing tracks and like all the synth elements definitely add like a whole other element to it. And yeah, like I don't know, I never really thought about it until you said it, but it really does cover a lot of our bases, which like I like. And yeah, it's like a lot of people seem to like favor that track, at least like from what they've told me, and it's like I didn't exactly expect that. But
yeah, to be honest, I think Desolate is it's probably my favorite track. Like I think I gotta pick, as much as I love the first track, like I think Desolate might need to be the one for me. Like I said, just for the reason I said earlier, like just it encapsulates everything that I like about you guys and what you're doing. And I think it's a cool look into the future too. Right. Yeah. Like I think you guys are at this point where it's like, if there was more melodicness in the form of like instrumentation wise and stuff, I mean, I wouldn't hate that, you know, while still keeping like
our album that we're working on right now, it's gonna have both. Nice. For sure. Okay. There's some songs that are really melodic and like more technical, and then there's other ones that really are just like, you know, they still have those elements, but a lot of heavy parts, stuff like that. It'll be like, I feel like a good expansion on the EP that we just did.
Right on, man. That's fucking awesome. Well, overall, man, Etterath, a badass fucking EP. Gord, do you have out of the 4 tracks, do you have one that's like kind of your favorite to jam? Or
so again, going back to it, Desolate, man. Like, well, okay, to be honest, every time I listen to it, it's always entropy into Desolate, because you have to let that transition just flow through, man. Yeah. Like like when we first got those when the masters and back or the first mixes and stuff back, man, like I was fucking blown away, like floored with how it all sounded. And even like as songwriting goes, like because that was kind of Taylor wrote a majority of that song, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much all like me and Taylor in like one night. I think we fleshed it out, and then maybe sat down with Scott like once after and went over a few things. But
yeah, like I know for Taylor, like in terms of songwriting, like that was a huge step up because like coming from the Umel days and then coming into this, it's almost like night and day, right? Not that the Umel stuff wasn't good, because that shit was great too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's different though, right? Like there's it's still heavy music, but like it's a different type of thing. So it's cool to hear that he had a big hand in that one too, because that's cool to hear.
Yeah, he's had a big part in writing for sure. I find like it's like there's some things over like the lockdown where it's like we would kind of write separate, but I find the songs that we write together, we definitely like push ideas around, and I feel like every time it pushes the envelope. Like there was some riffs in that song where I just kind of would sit down and play around with some things on the computer and then be like, what if we played something like this? And then fucking Taylor's whipping out some shit just on the spot. And then once we're done, we're like, this is going to suck to play, but it sounds great.
If it isn't even good, if you look at it and just go, fuck, man, like, how are we going to play this? We'll figure it out.
We do ourselves dirty, but
well, it makes for a pleasure to listen to, because it's a badass EP. And thank you guys so much for joining me and coming on to have a chat about this. It was a lot of fun. Real quick before we go, one last question I got for you guys. What is Etterath, and why did you name the EP that?
Oh man,
it's a cool word.
Well, basically we had to come up with a cool word, of course, because typical cliche deathcore band. We like one word names, and you can't be too basic with it. But honestly, like the meaning of it is it's basically like the feeling of like emptiness after like a long process. So it could be like that could relate to a number of things, but we were just kind of relating it to like like we just spent 2 years not being able to play shows. There's a lot of periods of time where we weren't able to like rehearse in our space that we normally would. And it was a long process kind of getting back into the swing of things and getting this thing together. But it I definitely I think in reality didn't feel empty after it felt fulfilled. But as far as like lyrical context, all those things go, just kind of fits the vibe with kind of like things I was feeling, or we were all feeling like while we were writing the music, which was like definitely a period of time like before we put it out. So yeah, I think that's kind of where it came with. We had a list of names that we thought fit, and then that was the one we ended up picking.
Well, it's a badass name, and it's something too that people will be like, oh, like what does that word mean? And then it brings more into the context of the EP once you look it up and you see that, you're like, oh, okay, like it just, and also like with the cover and everything, it just looks like it looks like a fucking horror movie, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good fit. I'm glad you like it.
Absolutely. Well, boys, it's been a pleasure. Let's do this again sometime soon. Let's not wait 4 years, or for Gord, the first time ever. Let's link up again soon and have a chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, we'll stay in touch. We'll get in touch maybe like around the time we're getting ready to like drop this album.
Oh, you're damn right. There's going to be a full Beguiler album. You're damn right. There's going to be some appearances on the Hodder Show for that one.
Yeah, we're due for one. We can't release our 500th EP. We gotta
our 500th.
500th EP. I like it. That's it. All right, boys.
Shit.
Thanks so much.
No, thank you, man.
All right, folks, there you have it. Another edition of the Hodder Show Music Showcase featuring my boys Beguiler and their EP, Etterath. Thank you so very much, Jacob and Gord, for jumping on the show. Always a pleasure getting to talk with you, Jacob. And Gord, I'm happy that we finally were able to get you to make an appearance here on the show. And we'll have to have Gord on, I think, for a chat. A little solo chat ski, because we did have Jacob on. Talk a little about his musical journey, but I don't know a lot about Gord's journey, so I'd like to make that happen, brother. So let's link up soon for that. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out Beguiler. While you're at it, check out the Hodder Show wherever you get your podcasts. We are on literally every podcast app imaginable, including YouTube. You know, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Podcasts, all those. You can find the Hodder Show on. And also check us out on the social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the Hodder Show. If you would like to be on the show, or you have a comment or something you'd like me to talk about on the show, hit me up anytime at thehoddershow@gmail.com. And we'll link up, or I'll chat with you, or I'll take the recommendation, or what have you. If you would like to support this show, consider, of course, subscribing, but also leaving a rating. Ratings really help this show grow, and specifically 5-star ratings help this show grow up the charts. And if you would like to support the show even more, consider joining the Patreon family, the Hotheads, and get a special shout out at the end of every single episode of the Hodder Show. Just like my current patrons, we of course have Mr. Scotty D, longtime patron, the OG patron. Scott, thank you so very much for your patronage, my man. You know how much I appreciate you. The Grey Rooms podcast, thank you so very much to the Grey Rooms team for being just amazing and ridiculously talented human beings, but also for being patrons of this little podcast and all that you guys have done for me so far. And I really cannot thank you guys enough. Mr. Ronan Komori, thank you so very much for your patronage, as well as being an awesome guy with a kick-ass taste in music. You know how much I appreciate you. Wolf Delta Pi, thank you so very much for being a patron and being an all-around, just a wonderful, fun guy. Of course, Mr. Eric Phones, thank you so very much for being a patron, as well as having a wonderful taste in music. You and I have, of course, had conversations about music before. Thank you so very much for supporting the podcast, Eric. Of course, Mr. Arthur Unk, the ridiculously talented writer of the Grey Rooms podcast, Mr. Arthur Unk. Well, new head writer of the Grey Rooms podcast, Arthur Unk. Thank you so very much for your patronage, brother. You know how much I appreciate it. And new guy here on the Hodder Show Patreon, Mike Quintero, who you may recognize that name because I had Mike on the show not all that long ago talking about his podcast, Mike's Mystery Mansion. It is amazing. Go check it out. It is quickly becoming one of the best horror narration podcasts on the internet. And if you would like a little shout out like that at the end of every episode of the show, consider joining the Hodder Show Patreon. $1 or above gets you exclusive access to behind the scenes stuff and live streams, and as well as Discord content. And also you'll get a little shout out at the end of every episode of the show. $5 and above gets you access to all those same things, as well as the exclusive Patreon podcast. It is a horror narration show called The Tapes of Trepidation, and I am having way too much fun doing that show, and it's only going to get better. And so far, I've had some really great feedback from my patrons that they're really enjoying it. I put a lot of work into it, and I'm so thrilled to provide that content for you guys. We have 3 episodes of that podcast out now and more to come. And if you join at the $10 or above, you'll get all those aforementioned benefits, as well as once I hit my goal of $100 a month, which I am not that far away from. I think I'm about $30 off from that right now. You'll get something. You'll either get a nice discount on merch or maybe some free merch. Who knows? Got to hit that goal first, folks. Once you hit that $100 a month goal, we're gonna do something cool to celebrate. I'm really looking forward to that. But if you do not want to join the Hodder Show Patreon, that is of course totally okay. I just appreciate you listening, especially if you are still listening. You are seriously the best. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time on the Hodder Show. Take it easy, guys.